Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to Chef Vic Cuisine. Today, we're making Shrimp Scampi Pasta. Now this is a bountiful meal cooked up in minutes. And this dish beautifully combines seafood and pasta in the best way. So, let's get started. Alright, for the ingredients, we're going to need 12 ounces of linguine, 1 tablespoon of salt, 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter, 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, 4 garlic cloves that we're going to mince, half a cup of white wine, preferably a Pinot Grigio, and then we're going to need 1.5 pounds of extra large shrimp that we're going to peel and devein. But we want to make sure you keep the shells. Then we're going to need some salt and freshly ground black pepper, about 1/8 of a teaspoon of red chili flakes, 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice, or the juice of about 1 lemon, and finally, 1/4 cup of fresh chopped parsley. So in this recipe, we're going to be using 2 stovetop burners at the same time, one for the 12 ounces of linguine and the other for the shrimp. Now for the linguine, all you need to do is cook the linguine according to package instructions. The only difference is that we're going to use 1 tablespoon of salt in the water. And that's to really bring out that flavor and make our pasta delicious. And then once the pasta is cooked, we want to remove it from the pot, rinse it, drain it, and then set it aside while we prepare the other ingredients. So to get things started, we're going to chop up our ingredients starting with the parsley. And what you're aiming for is really finely chopped parsley flakes. That way when you sprinkle this over the final dish, you get a nice even coat of that flavor. And with cutting the parsley, or any other herb for that matter, I normally use a rock and chop method. That way you can use the leverage of the knife to more easily cut through all the parsley herb. And my normal go-to is a chef's knife or a utility knife to get this done. And you can do the same with the garlic cloves, but I normally just go to using a garlic press just to create those really fine bits of garlic so we can spread out that flavor evenly in the pan. And just to make sure that they're really tiny pieces, I always double back and chop up those minced pieces of garlic with my knife. And for both the parsley and the garlic, we can set those aside for now. Now for the fun part of this recipe, peeling and deveining each of the shrimp. Now, if you're a fan of seafood, you know how expensive it can be when it comes to ordering a large quantity of extra large shrimp. So a way to cut back on some of the costs is to buy them with the peel and not deveined. And for this recipe, you definitely want the peel on them anyway, but there is an option to buy them with the shell but deveined as well, which could save you some time in the long run, but I'm going to show you how to devein the shrimp either way. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell icon to be notified when my next video drops. And stay tuned to the end of this video for a sneak peek of the recipe coming next week. But for the first step, we just want to remove the shell from each of the shrimp and set them in their own bowl for now. And the reason we're keeping the shells is to use them in the sauce we're going to create, to infuse the sauce with some of that shrimp flavor. It's just one more way to elevate the final result of this dish. So to get rid of the shells, I normally go for the legs first by pulling against them until it rips off the meat of the shrimp, and then allow the shell to peel off completely. You don't necessarily have to maintain a complete shell for this recipe, but it makes it much easier to strain your final sauce from the cooked shrimp shells. So on to the deveining process itself. I normally work it in 2 parts, and to preface the deveining stage, you don't have to do this for health concerns. This is an optional step. It's more for aesthetics and affecting the final texture of the shrimp. Sometimes when you have the vein within the shrimp, it can have a sandy or gritty texture to it. But you won't get sick from this. Most smaller shrimp still have the vein within them because they're too difficult to peel out by other chefs' standards. But what I like to do is start by cutting a small incision on the underside of the shrimp, looking for any vein in that area. Sometimes the shrimp will have veins on the underside or the top side of the shrimp. Most of the time you'll find them on the top. But as you can see here in this slowed down version, the vein was located on the underside of the shrimp. So all you have to do is find the vein, which looks like a skinny black string, that once you make a slice in the shrimp and make it visible, you can easily peel from the meat of the shrimp. And you can go ahead and discard that. And here's another fun fact. It's not necessarily a vein itself, it's actually the digestive tract of the shrimp, as well as a filter for the shrimp that allows it to filter the sand and water that it's in. But more importantly, because it's a digestive tract, it has exactly what you think inside of it. So that's why aesthetically, you want to remove this from each shrimp. And like I said before, more often than not, you're going to find the quote-unquote vein of the shrimp by making an incision on the top side of the shrimp, which I'm doing in this second step of deveining the shrimp. And for another close-up, you can see here that the skinny black piece is the vein itself that we want to remove from the shrimp. And you definitely want to do this before you cook the shrimp. While it is still possible to devein a shrimp after it's cooked, the vein itself becomes very brittle and breaks apart, and it's much simpler to get it before the shrimp is cooked. And so once all the shrimp is properly deveined, we can run these all under some cold running water just to clean them further before we're ready to cook them. And the same thing goes for the shrimp shells as well. You want to run these through cold water just to clean them prior to adding them to the pan. And if you aren't totally comfortable with handling seafood, I'd always recommend using some powder-free nitrile gloves. So moving on, we're going to melt the butter with the olive oil in a 12-inch skillet just over medium heat, or 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 176 degrees Celsius. So once the butter is melted into the oil, we can go ahead and add our garlic and saute the garlic in the butter oil mixture for about 1 to 2 minutes until it's fragrant. You just want to stir this pan intermittently just so that the garlic doesn't burn. But after about the 1 to 2 minutes of sauteing, we can go ahead and add in our white wine as well as the shells of the shrimp to the skillet. And when adding the shells, you just want to make sure you don't add any extra water from the cleaning process. So any excess water from the shells you can discard. So you can give this pan a quick mix, and you want to allow all this to simmer and the wine to reduce by about a half. And this should take about 2 to 3 minutes. And like I mentioned before, I really feel like this elevates the dish, as this sauce will coat not only your shrimp but the pasta as well. So each bite will have that beautiful garlic shrimp taste to it. So after the wine is reduced, you can use a slotted spoon, and you want to remove the shells from the reduced wine mixture, allowing any excess liquid to drip back into the pan. And now with all the shells removed from the pan, we can go ahead and add the shrimp in a single even layer. And it would be at this time where you want to add a thin dusting of salt, black pepper, as well as the red chili flakes. And you want to cook the shrimp until they just turn pink. And this should take about 1 to 1.5 minutes per side. So once the first 1.5 minutes has passed, you can flip them and then go ahead and season this side with a thin sprinkling of salt, black pepper, and red chili flakes as well. Always while making sure that each piece gets a nice coating of the wine mixture. So after about another minute of cooking so that both sides of the shrimp are cooked, we can go ahead and drizzle the lemon juice over all of the shrimp, as well as adding the chopped parsley to the skillet. You just want to give your shrimp another toss in the pan just to make sure that they're evenly coated in the sauce before adding them to the large bowl of linguine pasta. Give the pasta and the shrimp another quick toss so that the shrimp are evenly distributed amongst the pasta. And what I like to do is garnish it with some additional chopped fresh parsley, a little bit of salt, and some freshly ground black pepper. And you can serve this immediately and enjoy. And just like that, you've made your very own shrimp scampi pasta. This dish is packed with flavor. It is so delicious, as you saw, really easy to make, and cooks itself in minutes. And for a variation to this recipe, if you don't want to use white wine for this dish, you can always replace it with an equal amount of vegetable or chicken broth. As always, this recipe and many more can be found in my cookbook, Chef Vic Cuisine, Volume 2, Elevating Your Inner Chef. And that's available on Amazon, and I'll be sure to leave a link to that in the description box. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell icon to be notified when my next video drops. And stay tuned for next week, where I show you to make my absolute favorite takeout dish made right at home, chicken and broccoli. You don't want to miss this one. Well, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next week on another episode of Chef Vic Cuisine. And until then, peace.